the Profile RDA from Wotofo and Mr. Just Right 1. Let's have a look. Hey guys, Vick here, back with another review. Today we are looking at this, the Profile RDA from Wotofo and Mr. Just Right 1. What is it? It is a Mesh RDA. That's right, it is a Mesh RDA from Wotofo, designed in collaboration with Mr. Just Right 1, who is an American reviewer, is an American reviewer across the pond, and he has collaborated with Wotofo to make this RDA. It is Mesh RDA, 24mm wide, squonky and non-squonky, and it has a couple of nice little tricks up its sleeve. Goon tips, of course, that has become standard. Adjustable airflow, it's got all these little holes that are really the fashion at the moment. But it's got some nice little tricks up its sleeve. They've really looked at the Mesh RDA scene and they have looked for solutions to issues. So I'll show you the deck when we go down low. Very easy to build on. That's clear that they've given that some thought. They've got some nice little touches on the deck design as well, and very traditional airflow and looks beyond that point. Available from Wotofo, as you know, affordable, well made, and in a range of colours as well. So pretty cool. Let's go down though, have a really good look at this, and we'll come back up top. We'll talk about this RDA and Mesh RDAs in general. See you in a sec. Okay guys, here we are down low with the Profile RDA from Wotofo. This is the packaging. Looks a bit like this. Very fancy. Mr. Just Right 1 there on there. Profile Wotofo. Very good packaging as always by Wotofo. Let's get into this thing. Okay, so as it comes, you get your RDA barrel, you get a spare drip tip, and you get the deck in here as well, like that. Opening this up, the spares are important and useful with this. I'll just try and get out this drip tip. Spare drip tip's kind of just like a cloudy, transparent-y goon tip. Looks okay. But in the spares you do get some goodies. So you get your Allen keys and your screws and stuff. You get a spare spring for the deck, I'll show you that in a second. You get your squonk pin as well. Most importantly though, you get a nice little normal coil. This RDA does use normal coils, we'll come back to that as well. But this is the most important tool in here. This tool is what helps you bend your mesh. So let's get all set up. Okay, so this is the RDA. Really nice goon tip on here. Wotofo doing some really nice drip tips at the moment. You've got your adjustable airflow. This top comes off as well, like that, and you can see you've got your adjustable airflow on here. So you turn this to block it up, like that, and you've got all these loads of holes. Profile written on the side there, and that goes back on there like that. So yeah, pretty thick barrel. It's a pretty thick barrel. That, you know, reminds me of the recoil. This is the deck. So what you've got here is two side clamping bits here, one here, and then you've got a springy ceramic bit in the middle. And the idea of that spring is it pushes the cotton up against the mesh to stop you getting any really bad dry hits. And then you've got your screws on the side to clamp it down. Now, this is where the tool comes into force. So what I recommend is getting yourself some of this. This is Wotofo's very own mesh. If you can pick this up wherever you pick up the RDA, that'd be ideal. But basically, yeah, it's just a tube of loads of pre-made mesh like this. And you get this tool that we just talked about, and you bend it on here. You use this fat side of the tool to shape your mesh. Then you unscrew and put it in. Let's do that. Help if I use the right type of screwdriver. But there we go. Let's just get a proper one. Tighten it on both sides. Could be neater. Let's do it again. Tighten it on both sides like that. Let's tighten this up a bit. There we go, nice and tight, and then you've got it looking like that. Look at that. Easy as that. It really is easy as that. Once you've done that, you literally just get your cotton and ram it right down the middle. Like that. Let's get some scissors. Okay, so you've got loads of cotton going right down the middle. We're nicely in focus here. Okay, so we've got loads of cotton going right down the middle, and then it's just a case of thinning it out a bit. Tidying it up a bit. And then putting it in. Like that. Thin it out a bit. Thinning it out a bit and putting it in like that. Could not be simpler, and I've absolutely made a mess of that and a howler of that, and what's it take? It's still only taken 3 minutes to do. So let's just get a nice bit of close-up action, and there we go. You know, it's really as simple as that, and that is how you build it. And there it is, built up. But that is not the end, guys. We also need to put show you this with a normal coil in, so let's do that. Okay guys, so this is it with a coil in, a normal coil. This coil I've put in slightly too wide. As you can see, it's slightly having to bend back, but it is a bit of a beastie big coil, so normal coils would be absolutely fine in here, but this is just a bit of a beastie coil. I've put it this high. It's personal preference, of course, but the air holes on this are quite high, so I've tried to line it up with where the air holes actually are. There you go, you can see there. Yeah, you can use normal coils in this. Let's just wick this up, and we'll talk about this RDA for normal coils. I'm not going to focus too much up top on this RDA for normal coils. I think it really is designed for mesh. It's a Mesh RDA, and it's just a bonus that you can, if you really want to, put your own coils in here. For example, if you want to, come on, focus up. For example, if you haven't tried a Mesh RDA yet and you decide to give this one a go, it's good, because even if it turns out you don't like mesh, you can still use this RDA after, because you can put normal coils in, so you still get use of the RDA. It's not a waste of money. Just trying to thin it down the right amount. Obviously it's not as wide as a mesh coil now, so but I still want to retain enough cotton in here to fill the base like that, because like a dead rabbit or something like that, it's going to have to wick right up here. So that is what's going on now. So I'm just trying to get the wick right. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about too much at the top, but yeah, you can use normal coils in here, and it looks like this. If you do, well, if you use a proper width coil, then it'll look even neater. But essentially, that is what you're doing with this in normal coil mode. It works okay. It works fine with a normal coil. I just don't think it is designed specifically for a normal coil. I really want to focus on this as a Mesh RDA. But yeah, you can put a normal coil in here, and it works fine. Like a single coil dead rabbit or something like that, really. The vape is fine. Obviously, wicking is a bit more of a chore for this as a normal coil RDA as opposed to a mesh one. Obviously, because it's got a wick all the way up there, but it does squonk very well, this RDA. It does clamp these leads, no problem at all. I really like the screws on this. Beefy clamp, and it's a beefy screw, and that's really positive. So all we would do is juice this up and put this RDA back on, and that's what we'll do. I'll show you it squonking as well. Okay, see if we can focus on this now. Okay, so we've attached it to a mod. Going to give it a squonk. The squonk comes from underneath the two clamps. Works very well. When it's mesh, this thing wicks like a beast, because right where that juice is now, before it gets sucked back down, that is literally where your mesh cotton is, because the cotton is obviously very much thicker and going right down the middle. So it does squonk the mesh coils perfectly, very, very well indeed. And as you can see, it's doing an okay job with this as well. It's getting there. But yeah, but you can see very much that the RDA squonks very, very well, and it sucks it back down very well as well. Considering what's going on here, considering how much juice is coming up, it's doing well to pull it back down, and it's doing a nice job. So the RDA, let's put it back together. So we want the barrel to line up with these little grooves. So the barrel back on there now. Right, so the barrel back on there now, still squonking away very, very nicely. And you've then got your top cap, and you just line it up as you want it, like that. And there she is, the Profile RDA from Mr. Just Right 1 and Wotofo. Pretty cool, pretty good. Let's go back up top for pros and cons on this. But like I say, I'm not going to focus too much on it with this normal coil in. It accepts normal coils fine, and it vapes with normal coils fine. But I want to talk about this as a Mesh RDA. That's what's unique about it. That's what it's been designed for. So let's go. Okay guys, that was the Profile RDA down low. Pretty cool. I think you will agree, whether you like Mesh RDAs or not, this is a pretty cool RDA in terms of what they've done with this. They've looked at the whole mesh thing, and they've worked out solutions to certain problems, which I think is really, really cool. Straight out of the gate, I will tell you this is the best Mesh RDA I have used by miles. Ease of building there, ease of putting the mesh in, the fact that it comes with the bending mesh tool. I personally really like that tool. I know it's so simple. It's so simple, but it really helps me. I really struggle to get a nice, neat mesh bend in there, and so I'm really pleased with that. And they're also releasing these as well. These are pre-made cotton sticks, and you just put them through and cut them down to your preferred size, and they make it even easier to wick this thing as well. So super easy to mount your mesh and wick this up, and that for me is a real advantage. It's actually much faster than building a traditional RDA. They've really done a nice job on the actual build deck of this. The thing that I really like on that build deck is the ceramic bit that pushes up and down. Now, the conventional logic on these mesh RDAs, or mesh tanks in general really, is you really need your wick pressing up against that mesh, because the mesh gets very hot and you don't want a gap there. You want juice pushing right up against the mesh to get that nice saturated vape. If you don't, there's nothing worse in the game than a mesh dry hit. And if you create a little gap there, if it's not really nicely wicked up, it gets hot very quick and you get that very nasty taste. So they've thought about a solution to that problem, which is really, really cool. I wish the spring was a little bit more intense, or there was a way to adjust it or something like that, because really it doesn't manage to quite push the cotton hard enough against the mesh. It needs a bit more power in it. If it could just push it a bit firmer up against the mesh, that would be even nicer, but not taking anything away from it. That is a very clever idea, so I do like that. Use of ceramic is a good choice for that as well. So that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. But I do wish there was a slight bit more punch in the spring of the ceramic plate. Other little quirky little negatives, the top cap and the airflow situation. I genuinely can't look through here and see how wide open my airflow is. What I'm having to do is just do it myself, like have a little circle, that's too tight, turn it a little bit, that's better. I've had to adjust it like that. I just can't visually see how adjusted my airflow is. I don't know if it's just me being crazy or what, but yeah, I found that slightly frustrating. Also, the top cap, if you take the top cap off, it does keep your chamber and your wick and everything nicely intact, and you can just drip on top of your mesh there, but you have to adjust your airflow every time if you do that. So I don't know if that again, this is just using this quite a bit, finding little quirks with it, personal things. Also, this is specific to the black one. I don't like how in your face the logo is on here. It's sort of like that white on black thing. I know it's like engraved stainless type thing, but it's very at you on the black version in particular. Yeah, so that kind of spoils the look, because I do think this is a very good looking RDA. From the other angles, I think it's a very good looking RDA indeed. But this side on the black one is very intense, that logo. I think the logo is pretty cool looking, but it's just so, you know, the white on black thing is just, yeah. So that is a thing. I really like the goon tips that Wotofo do now. I think they're really cool. The whole RDA, apart from the logo, I think it's very nicely styled and designed. In terms of dripping or squonking, both work absolutely fine. This thing squonks very, very nicely indeed, very neatly indeed. So no qualms squonking or dripping with this RDA. You can just go straight down the tip. That's another advantage of Mesh RDAs. So, as I said at the very beginning of this bit, this is my favourite, and this is the best Mesh RDA I have seen on the market by miles. By miles. They've really thought about it. Some really nice improvements, some really cool design aspects to this RDA. However, I'm still going to be completely honest, I'm still not sold on Mesh RDAs. I just don't get the same great flavour as a traditional Clapton or Alien coil or whatever in an RDA. I just don't get that. The vapes, I think it's just a personal taste thing. I think they have improved so much. It's not really even mesh they're using now. It's a whole new vaping mesh type thing. It's not like back in the day when we used to use them as wicking material. You know, they've really improved a lot on this whole mesh atomizer scene. Some amazing sub-tanks using mesh now. But for me, personal preference on an RDA with mesh, I just don't get the same quality of vape that I love from my Goons and my Dead Rabbits and all that sort of stuff. You know, I just love traditional Alien and Clapton coils, and I just love the way they vape with cotton really, really well. But that being said, if you do like your Mesh RDAs, this is definitely the best one I've seen. Definitely do check it out. If you've not had a Mesh RDA yet and you are tempted, you do want one, definitely look at this one, because this is the best one I've seen so far. So it's best in class, but for me it's still not an area that I love. It's the whole Mesh RDA thing, still not an area I love, but that's taking nothing away from the Profile RDA from Wotofo, which I think is pretty solid. Let me know what you think in the comments, like and subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you on the next review. Cheers!